Playing in the NBA is not for the faint of heart. That's because throughout the league's history, there have been a number of truly terrifying, fearsome, intimidating guys who have left their opponents shaking in their boots. Let's dig into the most feared NBA players of all time. Even the greatest and most accomplished stars felt a shiver down their spine when they faced these guys. Let's start with Kevin Garnett, who was able to score on people and deliver some cutting trash talk too. Garnett wasn't just a skilled player, but he was a relentless force of nature who turned trash talking into an art form. From his intense pregame rituals to his constant verbal warfare during games, Garnett was in his opponents' heads before they even laced up their shoes.
Hell yeah, I'm trying to gain an advantage out here. If you're not, then you're in some trouble. Can't handle it, get off the court.
KG's intensity was palpable. He'd lock eyes with you from across the court, sparking curse words and using mind games that would break most players' spirits. His infamous smack talk was brutal, and he didn't care if you were a rookie or a Hall of Famer. Everyone was fair game.
I don't like KG. He's a very mean guy. Where is the...
There's no love there.
Where's the love?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, none at all.
My job is to stop you.
Garnett embodied the no friends on the court mindset better than anyone, and the mental toll he took on his opponents made him one of the most feared players of his era. It didn't matter if he was playing for the Timberwolves or the Celtics. Garnett was going to cut his opponents down to size. Before we go any further, do us a favor and hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support is greatly appreciated, and it helps us bring you more great content just like this. Now let's get back to the story. If the NBA had a bouncer, it would have been Charles Oakley. Known as the ultimate enforcer, Oakley didn't just play physical basketball. He embodied it. Anyone daring to venture into the paint against Oakley had better brace themselves for a collision, because Oak wasn't letting anyone get an easy bucket.
Needed a Harold Carmichael-type leaping catch. Scottie Pippen and Charles Oakley battling for the ball. Oakley got to it and was out of bounds.
The stories of Oakley protecting his teammates are legendary, and his competitors always feared crossing Oakley because they knew it could end with them getting shoved into the third row. He wasn't a guy you didn't mess with, but the respect he commanded was as much about admiration as it was fear. Remember the finger wag? Of course you do. Even novice NBA fans remember Dikembe Mutombo's famous gesture, which is still mimicked to this day.
And it's knocked away by Mutombo. Running hook, blocked by Mutombo. Morning, blocked by Dikembe again. Mutombo comes over to swat it away.
No matter who is trying it out today, Mutombo made it famous. And that little gesture encapsulated why he was feared across the NBA for years. Opposing players knew that driving to the rim against Mutombo meant risking the embarrassment of having their shot swatted halfway into the stands, followed by that iconic wave of the finger, letting everyone know exactly what just happened. Imagine being humiliated in front of thousands of cheering fans. That is what Mutombo did every single night. There was no denying that his shot blocking ability was just otherworldly and impossible to get past. That's why he racked up 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards and led the league in blocks 3 times.
That ball going up, but Dikembe right there, perfect timing on that block. Hoya paranoia.
Everyone feared heading for the rim whenever he was on the floor, and for good reason. Dikembe made sure you remembered who was guarding the paint.
Larry Brown's philosophy here tonight with McDaniel. Firing up the step rejected by Mutombo.
Dikembe, Marcus, an excellent help defender. He knows the defensive guidelines, and he is going to go to the front of that rim, any kind of penetration.
You can't say there are many players who could stare down Shaquille O'Neal without blinking. But Ben Wallace could.
So you cannot continue to complain because you're losing your focus. Now just watch this. Just like right there. How about that? Right on the ball.
At just 6'9", Big Ben became a nightmare in the paint for some of the league's biggest and strongest men. With his trademark afro and defensive tenacity, Wallace's ferocity on defense was out of this world.
Ben Wallace did that on purpose, He knew it was going in. He wants to show the intimidation factor.
A 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, he swatted shots like flies and snatched rebounds out of thin air. And his scowls alone can make you second-guess driving to the hoop. Fear came not just from his blocks, but from knowing that once you were in Wallace's vicinity, you were entering a no-fly zone.
Under the basket, and here is Kenny Anderson driving around Jones, and a batted block by Wallace.
See, that's where Ben Wallace is great.
No conversation about fear in the NBA is complete without mentioning the bad boy Pistons. These guys were downright loathed by opposing teams for their ultra-physical style of play. Bill Laimbeer, Rick Mahorn, Dennis Rodman, Isaiah Thomas. The names still give former NBA stars nightmares because of how relentless they were. They made it obvious that they weren't afraid to lay a hit on anyone who came through the lane. In fact, they encouraged it. The Bad Boys gained a ton of notoriety for their trademarked Jordan rules, which weren't just created to stop Michael Jordan, but to punish and humiliate him.
It was like the Da Vinci Code, the formula to Coca-Cola, and the Jordan rules.
Finally figured out what we need to do to stop Jordan.
Jordan has not been an offensive force in this game.
Teams knew they were in for a bruising battle anytime they faced the Pistons. They didn't just beat you, they wore you down mentally and physically. The Bad Boys made an art out of intimidation, and they relished their villainous reputation.
The hold of Rodman, and then they go right into the backstop. Chuck Daly.
When you think of Karl Malone, you don't just think of an elite scorer. You think of a 6'9", 250-pound unstoppable freight train with elbows that were sharper than a switchblade. Sure, Malone could drop 30 on you without breaking a sweat. But what made him truly feared was the punishment he delivered along the way. Driving to the hoop? Beware of an elbow to the ribs. Boxing him out? Prepare to feel like you're wrestling a grizzly bear. The mailman didn't just deliver points. Throughout his 19 years in the league, Malone made a name for himself as someone you didn't want to cross. He received a jaw-dropping 332 technical fouls during his time in the league, which proves that he didn't care who he was playing against or how many whistles he got. He was going to play, and he was going to play hard. Some instilled fear with their size and strength, and some studied their opponents, outsmarting them and getting in their heads before they even touched the court. People still talk about Kobe Bryant's Mamba mentality, which was all about his unrelenting will to win and push himself to the limit. 100% wasn't good enough for the Black Mamba. He wanted more. He demanded more. He lived and breathed basketball and studied his opponent's weaknesses like a predator eyeing its prey. And once he found them, he attacked them without mercy. Bryant's work ethic was legendary, and showing up at the gym at 4 a.m. wasn't just a routine, but an expectation.
Orlando and the Lakers had played each other in the finals the year before. Everyone was predicting that it would be the same thing. People were trying to say, oh, you didn't put it in his face. I put that shit right in his face, and he didn't blink. It was a battle.
So you're saying it wasn't 100% intentional?
No, it was just kind of something. My arms did it. Like, I wasn't even thinking about, oh, I'm going to put the ball in his face. Like, who does that shit, you know?
Kobe's reputation for clutch performances and his ability to take over games in the most critical moments left opponents dreading the fourth quarter. They knew when the game was on the line, Kobe would go for the kill. His no-nonsense, cold-blooded approach to basketball made him a terrifying figure, especially for anyone unlucky enough to guard him in crunch time. Allen Iverson may have been one of the smallest players on the court, but players feared his speed and unpredictability. AI didn't care who you were, player, official, coach, or the media. If he didn't like what you were saying, he was going to let you know.
I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice. I mean, listen, we're talking about practice. Not a game. We talking about practice.
Despite his size, AI wasn't afraid of anyone. He attacked defenders no matter their size with his fearless and relentless energy and determination. Opponents were left flat-footed by his lightning-quick crossovers, and he played with a reckless abandon that made every possession a battle.
Allen for the tip down. Coming through with the answer for that air ball back here.
11 rebounds, block, 3 points. Iverson, wow, what a fake on Daniels as he broke his ankles and got all the way to the cup for 2 of his 40.
Oh, Allen Iverson, what a move.
Iverson's toughness and fearlessness were legendary and still talked about all these years later. Even when he took brutal punishments night after night, he always bounced back and proved that size didn't matter.
Straight points by Iverson. Looked like he was dead in the water.
Allen Iverson makes it 103-99.
AI's scrappy, never-back-down mentality turned him into one of the most feared figures in league history, especially for guards who were left wondering if they could keep up with his pace or avoid ending up on his highlight reel. Dynamite comes in small packages, and Allen Iverson proved that. Wilt Chamberlain wasn't just a basketball player. He was a mythical figure. His records, like his 100-point game, feel unreal, and part of this is because he was so far ahead of his time in terms of physicality and skill. Standing at a towering 7'1" and as athletically gifted as anyone to ever lace up sneakers, Wilt was feared, respected, and worshipped. Players were in awe of Wilt's dominance, knowing full well they were stepping onto the court with a man who could out-rebound, outscore, outsmart, and outrun them all.
Chamberlain steals the ball in midair. Then, with a combination of expert dribbling and coordinated speed, the stilt moves up court, nets his high school.
Get this, he was so good they had to change the rules to make the game fairer for everyone else. Chamberlain was known for leaping forward and grabbing the ball when his free throws would bounce off the rim. He would sail through the air and dunk the ball without ever touching the ground. So the league decided to alter their rules, stating that a player couldn't cross the plane of the free throw line even if their feet weren't touching the ground. That is how powerful Wilt was. Imagine stepping onto the court knowing the game was literally altered because of one man. That's fear. There's a reason Shaquille O'Neal was called Diesel, because he was a Mack truck that would lay out anyone who got in his way. He's not only one of the most powerful and impactful basketball players of all time, he's also the most feared NBA star ever. At 7'1" and over 300 pounds of muscle, Shaq physically overwhelmed anyone who dared to challenge him in the paint. His combination of size, strength, and agility was unmatched in NBA history.
Orlando, last game Dennis Scott was starting, Bowie was coming off the bench as Hill follows and almost and does bring down the entire backboard.
Hill delivering to and the foul!
Shaq was such a beast that he literally broke 12 backboards during his 19 seasons in the league. The league actually had to strengthen the backboards and rims because they were losing too many of them because of Shaq. The guy didn't just dominate the game, he broke it. Shaq was so feared that teams employed the infamous hack-a-Shaq strategy, willingly sending him to the free throw line just to avoid him dunking on their heads. Opposing centers were often left looking like ragdolls trying to defend him. Shaq's physical dominance was so terrifying that even his name struck fear into the hearts of defenders, and his dunks, pure devastation. You can tell just how scary Shaq was by the way other teams and the league responded to him. There had never been someone like him, and there hasn't been since. Shaq was a shockingly singular sensation. Fear comes in many forms, whether it's Garnett's psychological warfare, Oakley's physical dominance, Kobe's killer instinct, or Shaq's menacing raw power and size. These players made opposing teams dread stepping on the court. That's it for our list of the NBA's most feared players. Put in the comments below who you think was the most feared. Also, if there's someone you think that should be on this list, put that in the comments below too. Also, if you haven't yet, like this video and subscribe to our channel so you get the latest content right when it drops. Until then, we'll see you next time.